if you say what you want to say and let the words fall out.
When I was 8, my mom enrolled me in swim lessons. When I graduated, I got the rate of a dolphin, the highest rate in the school. Christmas that year, my mom allowed me to pick out a football uniform from those huge Sears catalogs. While some parents may have chastised their daughter for wanting a football uniform, one of the many things I will always appreciate about my mom is she embraced and supported my individuality and never made me feel ashamed or inferior for not gravitating towards frilly dresses. She let me pick any team, so I picked the Miami Dolphins. The following summer, my mom took me, my sister, and my brother to SeaWorld. The first place I wanted to hit, the dolphin show. While waiting for the show to start, one of the trainers came over to me and said, "Would you like to be a part of the show and pet the dolphins?" My mom and my sisters faces lit up. My face turned bright red. I looked at all the people, bowed my head, and said a firm no. My family couldn't believe it, but there was no changing my mind. Years later, we had just moved to Texas after living in Indonesia for 2 years, where I attended 8th and 9th grade at international school. It was one of the greatest experiences of my life to be surrounded by kids from all over the world, all different perspectives, beliefs, religions, ethnicities. At the same time, we were in a third world country where I saw extreme poverty and economic inequality. Once I started high school in Plano, I was told that girls didn't wear their hair short or dress the way I did. I got harassed on the bus. I got made fun of in gym. I had no idea what their problem was until one day I was coming out of the bathroom and a kid said, "Oh my God, a boy's coming out of the girls' restroom." I heard chants of he, she while I walked down the hall. I wanted to die, literally. I thought a lot about how I would do it. It was the year that assisted suicide book came out called Final Exit, and I wrote down the title in my notebook. My history teacher didn't seem to fit in much better than I did, but he was so passionate about the world and politics. He helped me shape my world experience into a worldview and helped me realize that I wanted to advocate for equal rights and opportunities to celebrate all people, no matter their identity. During this time, my mom had decided whether to go back to the corporate world or to pursue her dream of starting her own business. I told her to go for it and follow her dream. She worked day and night, networking, marketing, and speaking. I often went to meetings with her and saw her in action. I was so in awe. One day when my mom picked me up from school, I burst into tears. My mom thought it was the kids at school, but I cried, "No, I didn't pet the dolphin." She was confused at first, and I really don't know what triggered it myself, but then she remembered. I was disappointed in myself for missing such a great opportunity because of fear of taking a risk, of being vulnerable, of being seen. All of this culminated in me wanting to go to law school to pursue public interest in civil rights law. So off to Washington, D.C. I went. A funny thing happened to me that first year. I was wearing a jersey of my favorite WNBA player who happened to have attended Stanford with a fellow classmate. When I showed up in my jersey, she said, "Oh, I know her. She'd like you." I looked at her confused, and she said, "She's a lesbian." I was in shock. I went home and I sat there staring at the giant picture I had of this player because I admired her skills so well. And I thought, finally, someone with whom I could identify. And I thought, that's what I am. It was such an amazing relief at first. Now so much made sense. Maybe that's what those kids in high school were picking up on. But I was clueless. Then it sunk in. What did this mean for me, for my family, for my faith? There was so much to process and work through. Fortunately, my family has always been great, and I've had a strong faith in feeling that no matter what, God loves me. My struggle was really about perceived unsafe spaces. After I graduated, I wasn't finding the legal dream career I wanted, so I decided to follow in my mom's footsteps and come home and start my own business, my own law practice, with a focus on the LGBT community. I maintained two separate worlds. When I would network with LGBT groups, I was out and open about who I am. When I was in non-LGBT groups, I was very reserved about my personal life and was strictly about promoting my legal services. Until one day, I was nominated for an award from a National Women's Association. When I received the application, I felt the same way I did when that dolphin trainer approached me. The application asked about me, the work I do, and what my goals were for the future. I had kept so much of my work in the LGBT community and the fact that I was a member of that community very separate. Those two worlds would collide if I allowed myself to be honest and vulnerable. I took a deep breath, filled it out honestly, and submitted my application, scared to death. A few months later, I received a call that I was chosen as a top 10 businesswoman. For the American Business Women's Association. At our annual conference, I got in front of the entire organization and had to share my story. For the first time in a perceived unsafe environment, I was completely honest, open, and vulnerable. It was one of the bravest, scariest, and liberating experiences of my life. The night I gave my speech, a member came up to me, grabbed my shoulders, and said, "Thank you for what you do and what you do for my daughter." A weight was lifted. The fear of those who would judge me became insignificant to the power of being a role model to those who don't always feel that they have a place in this world, or perhaps even an example to those willing to see things in a different way. I went on to run for the national board of the American Business Women's Association and was elected as their first openly gay national president in the organization's 65 years. I introduced the association's first fully inclusive non-discrimination policy, and it passed unanimously. A few months after my president year was up, I received a package in the mail from a member with a rainbow bracelet and a card that read, "Lorie, thank you for changing my judging heart to a loving heart." Like my mom, I'm a big dreamer. So this past May, I decided to run for United States Congress. It is the next chapter in my story of being authentic and vulnerable, of taking risks, of speaking up for others, and to treat everyone with dignity, compassion, and respect, even if they're not a Miami Dolphins fan.